get the notification. There you go.
Welcome to the show, guys. I'm Steven, and this is Danny, and we're here to talk about sports.
Yes, we are.
So we're going to first talk about the injury to Don Betances. So, Danny, how do you feel about the injury?
I think it's. I feel I can't help but feel bad for the guy first. I feel bad for him in the sense of the fact that he's been like arguably one of the better relievers in Yankee history. Hey, I know it's tough to say. I know it's hard to put that at first, but like obviously he's not Mariano Rivera, but like he's been there for a while. He's been what is he, a 3 or 4 time All-Star at this point, right?
Right, 4-time All-Star. Yep.
4-time All-Star. Not many relievers in Yankee history can say that outside of Mariano Rivera.
Right.
I mean, Mariano's on a whole nother level. Don't worry, I'm not comparing him to that. Don't worry.
No, nobody's comparing Mariano,
but he's like, I feel bad because he's been working all season to fix his shoulder, and he gets back onto the mound, does great, does pitches. What is it? 8 pitch strikeout, 2 strikeouts, right?
2 strikeouts, 9 pitches.
Yeah, exactly. And now season's over, and his Yankee career could be over because, as you know, his contract's up, and I don't know if they're going to sign him back or not.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at more from the Yankee standpoint. Like, I still think they have a good bullpen depth. They have Britton back there. They got Chapman. They got Ottavino. But it would always be nice to have somebody like Betances in that back end, especially if he's throwing 99 to 100 miles per hour like he used to.
Exactly.
And he has that ridiculous slider that just wipe out. So it might be a loss, but I hope the Yankees can get through it. Do you think the Yankees will be able to get through it or what?
I don't think. But what do you mean by get through it? Do you mean by get to where I think they will get to, or where
get to their final goal of reaching the World Series?
I don't. Even with Betances, I wouldn't take them to get to the World Series.
Okay.
I still stand strong with Houston. I think Houston will get there regardless. I mean, it obviously hurts the Yankees' chances because Betances is one of the best relievers in the league, and not having him is going to hurt. But even with him, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I still think if the ALCS were to be Houston versus New York, especially if Houston gets the tiebreaker, I'd say Houston wins in like 6 or 7.
Right, I would agree with you. I feel like it's more has to do with the home field advantage. If Houston gets the home field advantage, I think it's over. I don't think the Yankees are going to take 1 game in Houston. They could win in 6 or 7 games. And I think it's more about Severino and the starting rotation with the Yankees than it is the bullpen. If the Yankees starting rotation can pitch better than what they did in the regular season, I think they have a chance to get to the World Series. But I would have to agree with you. I think Houston is the favorite to get to the World Series.
Well, speaking of the Yankees rotation, Severino he looked pretty good. 4 innings, shutout ball. Right. I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head. I think he had like 4 strikeouts or something like that,
4
right?
4 strikeouts, 2 hits, 2 walks. Yeah. Pretty solid outing.
4 innings. Good outing for Severino. Very encouraging. It's much better than what we last saw him with, which was outside of the playoffs. I mean, you saw at the end of the second half of last year when he was just not himself. You could tell something was off. Right. I mean, he ended up fixing it. He was good in the playoffs, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, he struggled the first game, if you remember. Like, he loaded the bases in the first inning, and he only got through a third of an inning. Actually, that might have been 2 years ago. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was 2 years ago. Last year, he was actually good in the first game, and then he struggled against the Astros a little bit. But
they played against the Red Sox.
Oh, that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. Don't worry.
Okay. He struggled against the Red Sox big time. He gave up, 8 runs in, I think, 3 innings, and they ended up giving 16 runs up that game. That was one of the biggest blowouts I've ever seen.
That was the most humiliating thing I've ever watched. That was at Yankee Stadium, the first game at Yankee Stadium against Boston. Everyone expected to come after taking 1 game from Boston as well, which was huge. It took 1 in Boston. The series was tied at 1. The Yankees were supposed to set the tone that game, and it just did. It was like 19-1 or something like that. It was pathetic. But that was last year, and I think he'll be good to go for the rotation, but I don't know if they'll still have enough pitching because I trust Tanaka. Severino, I don't know if I trust just yet, even though he looked encouraging. Paxton, I don't know. He hasn't pitched in the playoffs just yet. I mean, he's over the past 8 starts or so, he's been very, very good. He's been killing it. And then Germán, I don't know if I trust or not either because he's only good at home.
Right. I don't even know if Germán is going to be in the starting rotation. I think we might only use 3 pitchers. I think it's going to be Tanaka, Paxton, and Severino, and I think Germán might come out of the bullpen in long relief. So I don't know.
I saw that too. I don't know if I agree with that. I think we should have 4. And I hate to do this to him because I love him. He's been here forever, and it's his last year. I think he keeps CC out of it.
I'd have to agree.
I hate to do it to him
he
because
has severe knee injuries right now. I don't think he could even stay on the mound for more than 3 innings. So I don't know.
I hate to do it to him though because he's
Yeah.
the locker room presence. Like, because I just don't see a spot for him even coming out of the bullpen. Like, I definitely don't see it in the starting rotation. He's clearly the worst starter as of right now. I mean, outside of Hap. I mean, don't even get me started on J Hap.
Even Hap is better than CC.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, especially recently, he's only given up a couple of runs in his last 3 starts.
That's true, but I mean, I just feel like I hate to say that about Sabathia though, because he's been there for like 10 years now. This is like his 10th season on the team.
Right.
He's a locker room presence, and he's just a likable person in general.
Right.
To leave him off the roster is something that, like, I mean, I don't think they're going to because it's Sabathia.
Right. Well, I've always been proposing. I doubt the Yankees do this, but I would fire Rothschild on the spot, and I would move CC right into the pitching coach so that he's on the Yankees roster and he's right there for the
He's
playoffs.
right there. Like, so,
I've never liked Rothschild, so that would what I would do.
I mean, that's obviously an option. They're definitely not going to because they won't do that. But I'm not opposed to that. There's no way they do it though.
No way.
But focusing on some of the other teams around the league, do you have any other? Who's your World Series favorite at the moment?
Well, I not only have the Astros going to the World Series, but I have them winning the World Series easily. I think the 2 best teams in the league right now are the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees, and they're both in the same league. And I think the Houston Astros are by far the best team. They got great hitting. They got a ridiculous pitching staff. And their bullpen is solid, unlike the years past. Even when they won the World Series, it's even more solid than it was then.
So you think this is the best team that they've had out of
Yeah.
I just saw something too. They'll become, if they win one more game this year, they'll become the 5th team ever. The last team to do it was the Yankees, was to win 100 games in 3 straight seasons.
Right.
And the last team to do that was the Yankees. They did it from 2002 to 2004.
Right. Well, and the Yankees only won one World Series in that span. That's pretty.
In 2002, 2004, they didn't win any.
Oh, 2002 to 2004?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they didn't win any.
They didn't win any.
I thought you said 2000. Yeah.
No, yeah, they didn't win any then. So.
Wow. So that's disappointing for the Yankees.
It is, but I mean, what else you want?
I mean, yeah, and not only that, they got I really like their manager as well. He takes the analytics, but he also manages with his gut sometimes. I've seen him, like, he takes a pitcher like with good analytics in that situation, and he'll be like, no, just keep Verlander in there. Verlander's the classic pitcher that you just go 7 innings, 120 pitches, and he'll take you to the distance. And
it works out for him. I mean, he's got a lot of tools to work with too. I feel like he's got a lot of toys to play with there. That's a poor saying.
Right.
Well, but he's got a lot to his disposal, and it just amazes me too, like how far the Astros have come. Like 4 or 5 years ago, they were like winning 50 to 55 games or so. And now they're just like, I don't even know if it was 4 or 5 years ago. It was like a while ago. I remember they were winning like 55 games, and I was just like, what is this team doing? Yeah. Like, they just came over, they like switched leagues. I'm just like, what's happening? And now they're the best team. Like, they're the World Series favorites right now, on paper at least.
Well, yeah, they're a classic example of a good rebuild, because they were good like back in the early 2000s when they had Lance Berkman and people like that. And then they never won. Like, they made it to the World Series, but they never won. And then they just collapsed. So they had to completely rebuild everything. And they did a great job. They're one of the few teams I would say that went through a complete rebuild and actually did a great job of rebuilding their team.
Shows the importance of a farm system, right?
Yeah.
What about in the NL? What do you think? Who do you think coming out of there? I think there's two clear-cut favorites. I think there's 2 clear-cut not juggernauts, but there's like, and the NL is so deep. There's so many good teams in the NL. And I mean, if anyone gets in there, it's really anyone. But the 2 favorites, I'd say, are the Braves and the Dodgers.
Right. And I would have to say the Dodgers are going to go back to the World Series for the 3rd straight time. I mean, the Braves are a great team, don't get me wrong, but I have a feeling they're going to get nervous in the playoffs. They haven't been there. They have a lot of young players, Acuna Jr. and players like that.
Ozzie Albies as well.
Yeah, Ozzie Albies. They might not perform well. They might perform well. Who knows? But I don't think they're going to perform well enough to against these seasoned veterans of the Dodgers like Justin Turner, who's going to come back, and people like that. So I think the Dodgers are going to win.
The thing is too, though, like like people think the Dodgers are running away with home field advantage. The Braves are right on their tail. I think they're only like 3 or 4 games back from that. So if the Braves, it's not likely, but if the Braves steal home field throughout the NL playoffs, then I wouldn't count them out. I wouldn't count the Braves out. The Braves that I like even though they're young, like Acuna Jr. is incredible. Ozzie Albies is a great player. Dansby Swanson is one of the best defensive shortstops. They got other veterans too, like Nick Markakis to help out. Dallas Keuchel is a great starting pitcher, and they bolstered the bullpen at the deadline. So like to me, like there's really no significant. Obviously, every team has weaknesses, but like there's no like significant. Okay, this is a really big problem, and I don't know. I feel like everyone's sleeping on the Braves. I think they might get to the World Series.
I could see your point, but if you look at the Dodgers, you say that the Braves have a good starting pitcher in Dallas Keuchel. They also have Soroka, but he's young. The Dodgers have Ryu. They have
who's been struggling recently.
He's struggling, but I wouldn't count him out of playoffs. You have Kershaw.
He's Kershaw.
You can't count on Kershaw. You have
Walker Buehler, who's good as well. I mean, I'm not saying the Dodgers are not the favorites, but I'm saying like don't count the Braves out. Like I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a cakewalk, but I think the Dodgers got to be the favorites in the NL, especially since they've been to back-to-back World Series. I mean, if they go back-to-back World Series, that would be impressive, and they have the chance to lose all of them. So,
yeah, which would be
terrible. That'd
be funny. I laugh at that. One other thing as well I want to get into before. Do you have any preference? Like not preference. Like I mean, right now the biggest race in the NL is the last wild card spot. There's like 4 or 5 teams that are in contention for. You got the Nationals, who were up like 4.5 games, and now they're like half a game up. You got the Cubs, you got the Brewers, who just lost Yelich. I don't know if they're still in it or not. There's the Phillies, there's the Mets, and like there's like 5 teams in like in a race for 2 spots. Do you have who you taking to get those 2 spots?
Well, even though the Nationals are struggling, like you said recently, I think the Nationals will lock out in that first spot. And in the second spot, I'm going to take a surprise pick, and I'm going to go with the New York Mets.
Really? You're taking the Mets to get it?
The Mets are going to – if you look at the Mets' remaining schedule, it's very easy compared to the rest of the teams. And also, the Cubs just had an injury with Rizzo. I think that's going to impact them.
That was a big impact.
Obviously, the Brewers with Yelich, I think that's going to impact them. So I think the Mets, as long as their bullpen is not awful like it's been, if they could just get Lugo in there and close out some games, unlike Diaz – then I think the Mets will get that second wildcard spot.
I agree with the Nationals. I think the Nationals are the most talented team out of those 5. I think they'll eventually end up with the number 1 spot. But I don't know. Like I still like the Cubs. I still like the Cubs. As significant of an injury as Rizzo had. I mean, not had, but like as significant as it is, it's a big loss. I still like them. I still feel like I still think they're the second best team out of those 5. As much as a disappointment to Mets fans, I mean, you can't be mad at the season though. But I think the Cubs will take the second spot. I can't believe you picked the Mets, especially you, who bashes on them all the time.
I only bash on the Mets because they deserve it. I never hated the Mets. I'm a Yankees fan, but I respect the Mets. But they deserve to be bashed sometimes. And I don't think this year is one of the years that they deserve to be bashed because their bullpen is the reason why they are not in a playoff spot right now. Their lineup's been good. Their starting pitching has been pretty good, especially since Stroman's come over. So I think they could get that wild card spot. I mean, I see your point with the Cubs. They definitely are a talented team, but I think that injury to Rizzo is going to be bigger than people realize.
I just don't know because like I always feel like it's typical Mets fashion. No, I mean I'm not trying to bash them, but like they'll always get right there and then something will go wrong. You know what I mean? I just feel like I have a hunch that that'll happen again. I'm not rooting for it to happen again. I've told you I want a Yankees Mets World Series very badly, so I hope they get in. But I mean, I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I'll be shocked if they do.
Right. I think the difference between this year and past years though is in past years the Mets had like an 8-game lead or 6-game lead in first place. I guess this year they're coming from behind. Like they were down and out, and now all of a sudden they're there. That's why I think it's different this year. I think this team has on their mind that they're going to get to the playoffs, and that's it.
I mean, also, I don't know how Mets fans feel. Like, I would say they cannot be mad. I wouldn't say they can't be mad at this season because they were like 10 or 11 games under 500, the biggest laughing stock in the league at one point, and then all of a sudden they just got it. They just got it rolling. It was like in August when they started to get it rolling. Like end of July, early August, they started rolling.
Right. I don't think Mets fans could be angry either because you got these guys, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso. I don't think Mets fans were expecting these guys to be big hitters, and all of a sudden Jeff McNeil is one of the best average hitters in the league. Pete Alonso is one of the best power hitters in the game. I don't think you could be mad.
Technically, right now he's the top. He's 48 home runs. He's looking to break the rookie record, right, which I think he's going to get.
I do not think he's going to get. That's another conversation. I think he's going to get exactly 51, right under Judge, and he'll just stop right there.
You stop right.
He'll just stop right there, 51.
All right, want to take a little bit of a break?
Sure.
All right, so when we get back, we're going to talk about just NFL news. I have to rant about the Jets. You have to rant about the Giants. I mean, it's just garbage right now.
We got to talk about NFL football. It's not good for New York right now.
All right, I'll talk to you guys in a bit. All right, just turn off.